Hey everybody, welcome to the Mikey and D podcast. Yet again, Dalton is missing. I have no idea where he's at. Actually, it's his birthday today. So everyone like and subscribe and wish Dalton happy birthday. He is 26 today. So
yep. Happy birthday, Dalton. This is Catfish, a.k.a. The Barn.
He totally went in and talked about himself. I'm
taking your spot.
I wanted to say we have a special guest tonight. We have my buddy Catfish, a.k.a. Barn.
What up, y'all?
Yep. So he actually is one of my good friends. We've been friends for what? God, 13, 14
Maybe
years?
9 years?
No, it might be on 9, 10 years. About 10 years, yeah.
We'll say 13.
I think you're right. We'll say 13. We'll say, because that sounds better. But he is in a band called Bombcats.
What? Bombcats. Check us out. We're better than Pearl Jam.
Better than Pearl Jam. You heard it here first. Bombcats. They're actually... I love your band style, though. You have the kind of an 80s punk kind of just... I like your guys' style, man. You can find them on iTunes. I mean, I enjoy them. I don't... There's a lot of music I hate, but I can listen to Bombcats a lot.
Sure. Check us out. Spotify, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music.
Apple Music, yeah. Pay these motherfuckers, man. God, they're working so hard. But so Barn wanted to talk tonight about a few things. I don't necessarily know where we're going to go with this, but we're just going to talk for a little while. We were talking about relationships a little while ago, and you've had the I don't know if I call it bad luck, because you're not necessarily looking for a woman, but you have. I mean, I'm
not looking for a man.
You're not looking for a man.
That's what you're implying.
Not looking for a dog. Not looking for another species. You'd like a woman, but
possibly a jellyfish.
I mean, jellyfish, they're soft, they're malleable, whatever.
A lot of limbs.
But anyways, so let me give you a little backstory. Barn and I have been drinking for a few hours, and I said...
2 hours.
Two tree. But I said, fuck it, man, let's do a podcast. And he said, man, I don't know. So I said, let's fucking do it. He said, all right, I'm down. So this one might be a little off the cuff, whatever. We'll talk about whatever we want to talk about, but you know how we are on this podcast. We shoot from the hip and we just talk about whatever. So, Barn, let's talk about you, man. What's going on in your life right now that you cannot... I won't say you can't find a woman, because you're pretty successful on whatever dating app you're on. You get the ladies, you get them to talk to you, and you're a great conversationalist. What is it about, I don't know if it's you or them, that every time I talk to you, you say, well, I found this girl, and then 3 days later, I stopped talking to her. What's going on?
Okay, you gotta understand, first off, I'm 40. I have an almost 20-year-old from my first and only marriage. So I don't have a lot of necessity. I don't need anybody to cook for me, take care of me, wipe my ass.
Well, you're a bomb ass cook, though.
Of course, and I can wipe my ass pretty well.
Fairly well.
I'm about a 4-star ass wiper. But I've also come into my own. I've dated a lot since I've technically been divorced.
A lot.
Not a lot. I mean, enough.
Right. We'll see.
I've had some long-term relationships, and I respect that, and I appreciate that, and I've only good things to say about long-term relationships. But it's just a personal thing, I've done a lot of self-care, and I know that's a common cop-out with guys with thinking they're beyond finding somebody to date because they think, I can take care of myself. Well, I'm good.
Well,
I'm an incel.
I think a lot of women are like that too, though. They want to be the independent woman, and which is fine. I've no qualms about that. That's but I want to know what it is that you you see, so you go on a date or two with a woman, and you say, I don't. We'll be friends, but I don't want anything else with her. What is it? Just the chemistry? Is it? I mean, what is it about them?
To be honest, man, a lot of it is just that initial date and finding those projective flaws.
So
your benefits, like I'm. Hey, don't cut me off, bro. I'm an optimist. I look for the good in people. I tend to project the benefits outright. Like I'm saying, oh, she's great. She likes this. She likes that. So it's not a matter of negative mind space. Like I'm not opposed to having a partner. I know what I want. I know what I'm looking for. But it's just like when I meet chicks, there's certain things.
Don't call them chicks. Come on now.
When I meet them, they, theirs.
Whatever the pronoun is.
Backslash. No cancel.
Well, what?
I don't know. Man. So my standards aren't that high. I'm not
like but I feel like you start out looking for the negatives. Like when you go on a date, you're looking for that negative aspect about them, whether it's their looks, whether it's if they have. And no offense to anybody, I'm just throwing things out. If they have kids, if they do this, if they do that, I think you start out looking at the negative aspects of them instead of the positives. Is that correct or incorrect?
Oh, sure, man. I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at looks. I'm looking at personality. I mean, anything I can cast a net and pull in to kind of understand this other person that I'm potentially investing my time and my sexual energy, my personality into. Like, of course, I'm going to scrutinize. But it is to my detriment. It is to my detriment too. So
I mean, like you said, you don't need anybody. Like you're totally fine. I've known you for so long, and I think quite a bit of the time you've been alone. You're fine. You don't need that second person. You don't need someone cooking for you. You don't need that companionship. But I feel like you want. I mean, you totally want it. You want you want that person to be able to.
Dude, I think everybody longs for that companionship.
Right.
I don't think whether they want to admit it or not. I mean, everybody has that longing.
Sure.
That yearning in their loins. That sounds cheesy as fuck. That sounds anyway. But at the same time, I've been in long-term committed relationships, and I've appreciated every one. I don't have those sort of regrets. It's just a matter of being a little more selective now that I'm older, and I like to think I'm wiser, and I really need to invest in myself, and really. And I know it sounds like a cop-out to some people, like, oh, he's working on himself. He needs to find himself before he can commit to another woman. Like, trust me, dude. I've committed to other women.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
I don't regret that either. I've been married, but at this point in my life, it's when it comes, it's gonna come, and if it doesn't come, it's fine. Like I'm not.
Yeah.
Other people are sweating it worse than me.
Right. I see that other side too, because when I was younger, I'm looking for someone. Because when I was younger, I mean financially, I wasn't very stable. I'm looking for someone to take on part of my burden. I'm looking for someone to. I mean, obviously, this is a horrible thing to say, but when I was younger, I would jump on anything that would help me out financially. And this is digging deep into my past that I don't normally talk about on here. But, I would look for somebody that was financially stable so they could help me out. Now, I understand your point of view. You want to take your time. You want to find that one person that it's not a financial thing for you now. It's a compatibility thing, and it's somebody that you really want to just have a good time with, have quality conversations, have good time with. And I totally understand that. If you'd told me 7 years ago, I just want somebody that I can be myself around, or what. I'm thinking, no, I want somebody that can help take care of me. And over the past few, 5, 6, 7, whatever many years it's been, I've gotten to that point too, where I'm very selective, and obviously we all know Kim's a great girlfriend, and if it wasn't for me kind of maturing and getting into that mindset where, I'm financially stable, I don't need anybody, I just want that other person that kind of balances me out and makes me feel like a better person, and it's really it's a great thing once you find that person.
Oh yeah, man. Absolutely.
I mean, it's always been, for me, it was a struggle when I was younger, trying to find one, because I don't want to say I was like you, but I would find flaws in every single. I mean, all my most of my escapades. But I mean, there were so many women that I would say, she's got a weird mark on her left shoulder, I don't like it. And it was just like, why the hell why was I focusing on that? I mean, she was a great girl. She had this, it was be some weird out of the blue thing where I'm like, I can't be with her because of this. I think a lot of that is based on your own insecurities, on your own, whatever it might be. But yeah, I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from, because you're the type of guy that I feel like you've always been fairly independent. Like you do your thing, and that might be what some women don't. Maybe they don't want that, because I know plenty of women that don't want a guy that does his own thing a lot, and you.
I don't know, man. I think you can't summarize.
I'm not putting everyone into one basket, obviously, but I feel like there are a few that want to do everything with you, and you're a very independent person. Like, you like doing your own thing sometimes.
True. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think a lot of women like decisiveness. I think a lot of women like somebody that knows what they want, is somebody that is willing to make those decisions, even if they disagree with them. At least they have that kind of comfort. It's almost like a security. Like, even if they disagree with their man's decisions, at least they know he is making decisions for
their man. Their man.
That's what I'm saying.
That's very. That sounds a little sexist to me, by the way.
Well, I'm a man, so I can't be anything except be sexist, because I'm a fucking man. So,
right.
I don't care. I'm one of the most. I think I'm one of the most responsive people to female partners, because I grew up in a female-dominated household.
What's your Bumble, by the way? I feel like some of the females on here
might want to know. My Bumble is Conrad Pound at gmail.com. You can hit me up. I'm actually about to switch to Hinge, to be honest. I don't know.
What? So Facebook, I haven't. You told me about Hinge for the first time tonight. I don't know what that is. Because I've been out of the dating scene for a while. The last one I was on was Bumble, where I happened to meet Kim. I have never heard of Hinge. What's Hinge about?
So, from my initial understanding, Hinge was the companion dating piece to Facebook, and you would sign up, and it would show you mutual friends.
Was it a Zuckerberg produced?
But I have no idea. My buddy Kurt, good buddy Kurt, no last name.
Can't say any last names on here.
We're gonna blank out that last name. Yeah, he can cut that anyway.
Where's
our producer? So mentioned Hinge, and what I was always under the impression that it was related to Facebook, and it would show you matches that were linked to your Facebook friends or something.
Really?
So, I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. I'm about to try it. Anyway, I've been on Bumble for a minute, met a couple nice ladies, and I think my problem is I have not really fleshed out my profile. I got some decent pictures.
I feel like didn't Kim help you out with your profile a while ago, or was that your Tinder? That might have been your Tinder.
Let's back up a minute. No. Dude, I haven't had a Tinder for several years.
I feel like she helped you out with one of your profiles.
That was my Bumble profile.
Okay. Not much success after she helped you out?
Yeah, it was okay. It was okay.
All right.
I deleted it. I started to scratch. I kept it real simple.
Yeah.
And I think when Kim actually helped me out with it, it was better. But that's another story.
Well, because she knows what women want to see.
I mean, Mel Gibson knows what women want.
Well, what
Kim might
with
know what women need.
Co-starring Helen Hunt.
Mel Gibson. Who was it? Which one? Helen Hunt.
Helen Hunt. Yeah, she was in that movie.
She got plastic surgery.
What?
Helen Hunt.
When?
Dude, we watched this show on Netflix. I think it was on Netflix. She got plastic surgery, man. It doesn't look good.
But on what? Do you know what it was on?
Now we're converting into judgmental assholes.
Well, no, we are. But
damn it, I think it was on Netflix. It was bad.
Well, no. Tell me what
the movie itself was not.
No,
bad.
Tell me what the surgery was about.
It was on her face. She got some.
But she looked great.
She didn't look bad.
I mean, I thought she looked fine.
Dude, she got something. She got pulled back on her face.
Oh
so
God, did it stretch out
like the Scream? What's that fine art piece of the Scream? Who does the Scream?
Oh yeah, I know. Fuck.
That's what her mouth looks like now.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. That's
Paul Reiser. Sorry, bro. That's Paul Reiser. Like, yeah, you're good. You got out while the good and
was she with it? She was with Paul Reiser. I didn't even know that.
She wasn't with.
Oh no, Mad About You. Sorry.
God damn it.
I knew it, but I actually used to watch Mad About You. Well, the thing that
terrible show.
It was a horrible show because Paul Reiser is really annoying.
Friends is maybe a hair better.
Fuck you.
Terrible show.
Fuck you. By the way,
the common denominator here is Adam Duritz. From the
God.
Crows.
Can we talk
our next segment?
Let's talk about the new Counting Crows.
We're going to veer away from personal relationships.
We can move on to the next subject.
Music.
So let's talk about the new Counting Crows. We've both heard the new Counting Crows, and I think both of our opinion is it's okay. What do you think, Colin?
It's pretty good, man. I'm a music fan. I followed the Crows. Okay, I'll be honest with you, dude. I listened to everything, August and everything after. That was one of my favorite records from when I was a kid.
That and Throwing Copper.
I found punk and I discouraged.
Okay,
I threw them out.
August and everything after came out in what, 94?
93?
No, I want to say 94. But anyways, so punk started in like early 80s. The Ramones had their thing.
Dude, 77.
What did you go? What was your go-to album?
Before we were born.
You're definitely before we were born. What was your go-to album when you first started listening to punk? What was that album? Was it Nevermind the Bollocks? What was it?
Punk?
Yeah.
I had no idea what punk was. Man.
No, I mean
we're 90s kids. So we're like decades.
But you said you started listening to punk after you listened to the Crows, after you listened to all that stuff. What was that?
That's a really hard question because I listened to Green Day, which they're kind of punk.
They're kind of they were back in 95 when Dookie came out. They were like the newish.
Dookie didn't come out in
94. Was it 94?
I feel like Dookie came out in 92, but it could have been.
No, it was totally 94.
I feel like it was more.
It was 94 or 95, and I'm going to look that up while he talks for a second.
We need a Jamie.
About what we need a young Jamie.
Where's our young
Jamie?
I
want to know what got you into punk.
The energy, man. The intensity. So we had grown up in the 90s, early 90s, with this kind of self-deprecating alternative.
February 1st. Sorry. I have to cut you off. Dookie came out in 94, like I said, because I'm right. Anyways, go ahead. So we were listening to the self-deprecating Nirvana. We were listening to the Teenage Angst. Go ahead.
Go ahead. We were listening to Mudhoney.
Oh, yeah.
We were listening to Sonic Youth.
Yep. I love Sonic Youth and I love Mudhoney.
And it holds up.
Yeah, Meat Puppets. I was about to say Meat Puppets fucking hold up like a motherfucker. And the only reason I knew about Meat Puppets was from the Nirvana Unplugged album. I wouldn't have known about them if it was not for that. And as soon as I heard that back when I was like 12, I started listening to Meat Puppets, which is, I mean, they're an amazing band on their own.
Absolutely.
Without having Unplugged.
In my opinion, I'm a bigger Meat Puppets fan than I am Nirvana.
I mean, I can't say that because I've got Nirvana tattooed all over me, but
no, I respect Nirvana. I love Nirvana. Like,
I mean,
they're a great band. I've always post Nirvana,
right?
More of a Meat Puppets
fan. And I can totally understand that because the range of their music was just so great. It was that they were
a band a decade before Nirvana.
Exactly.
We have to respect the fact.
The reason, if you don't know, the reason Nirvana had them on the Unplugged album is because Nirvana was big fans of the Meat Puppets. That's why they were on there. And I don't know if any of you know that, but if you haven't actually watched the actual video of Unplugged, the Nirvana Unplugged in New York, the Meat Puppets are on. Plateau was their song, correct? There were a few other songs. Oh Me, Plateau, and I think there was one other one. I can't think of what the hell it was. But anyways, Like a Fire, yes, correct.
Like a Fire, Oh Me, and Plateau.
Yeah, so
the big three Meat Puppet songs on their Nirvana Unplugged release, because they were huge influences on Nirvana, which is to be expected because they were a huge underground band at the time. They they were on SST. And not a lot of people really kind of brought them up because they were so cross-genre.
They really are, too, yeah.
Went from a hardcore to jam, almost like real spaced out.
And almost
on the verge of, like, Grateful Dead.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the Meat Puppets.
Like, when they were on Unplugged, it was such like a mellow kind of just vibe that they were like, and I've heard the earlier stuff, which is like fucking just hardcore.
Meat
just
Puppets 2.
Oh yeah,
one of the best records. From the 80s.
Definitely.
Get on that.
Yep. But I mean,
Up on the Sun.
Yeah,
another great Meat Puppets release.
Yeah,
from the 80s.
That's why.
Get on that.
That's why I love having Barn around because he knows so much about old school music, which I love. I've always been a huge fan of.
I mean, that's about the oldest I go.
Yeah,
well, I was born in 1980.
I don't mean old school as in, I don't mean old school as in 40s. I mean old school as in like early 80s, late 80s.
What the fuck are you talking about?
No, I'm saying I don't mean that.
What do you know from the 40s?
You know, I like
some Louis Armstrong.
I like a little Louis Armstrong. I like a little. But I like a skip out. But no, Colin Barn. Sorry, I didn't mean to say his first name. We can edit that out later, but I won't. But anyways, Barn is a great. If you want to know about music from the early '80s on, he's like an encyclopedia. I mean, he knows everything from then. You do. You know everything from then to pretty current, and a lot of the stuff is just underground stuff that you've never heard of. He'll send me a message about, hey, we should go see this band. I'm like, who the fuck is that? And then I'll go to the show with him. I'm like, that band was fucking amazing. How the hell have I never heard of them?
Black Moth Super Rainbow.
Black Moth Super Rainbow was a shout out to them, man.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Philadelphia? No, Pittsburgh.
They're from Pittsburgh. I think they're from Pittsburgh. Yeah, but
Tobacco.
So we went to that show a few years ago. That was, I mean, I had never heard of them before. He said, "Hey man, they're playing at this local venue that we like to go to."
High five.
High five. Shout out to the High Five.
Indianapolis.
But so we went there. And it was fucking amazing, man. I was blown away. And usually I'm not if it's a band that I don't know, I haven't heard of, I don't know their songs, I'm not into it.
Let me interject here.
Go ahead.
So the main songwriter of Black Moth Super Rainbow is a guy named Tobacco, and
the name's awesome. By the way,
just took him on tour. Okay, this might have been 2019. So we're not talking about small stuff here. We're talking about really good, independent yet big music. Yep. That's how we blur the lines these days. There's no independent music these days.
Yeah.
Independent music is music.
Right. Well, because everyone wants to know. I think nowadays everyone wants to be the first to know all the independent music, and it's kind of it's the fad now. You want to be the first to know these bands, And it's kind of taken away that whole aspect of, the whole underground culture.
Communal.
Exactly.
It's taken away the communal discovery kind of portion of it. Spotify, I mean, that's what we're looking at now. We're looking at an algorithm controlling this is our gatekeeper.
Yeah.
This is an algorithm. It's not even a person, let alone a scene. I mean, this is what we have to work with,
and that's
which is fine in a way.
Yeah, but I mean, you think about it, you want to hear these new artists. You want to hear whoever's possibly an underground artist, whatever. But the algorithm is showing you what you need to listen to, which I'm not a fan of. I'm not a big fan of. That's why I don't listen to Spotify. I'm not a fan of it. I don't think just because I listen to one artist that I'm going to like, the next one that's going to pop up, I'm not a big fan. Well, I mean, what do you think? Is Spotify a good thing or a bad thing in terms of the algorithm?
Spotify is phenomenal when it comes to discovering new music. I'm a Spotify proponent. I think the financial regard is pretty atrocious. Sorry. But when it comes to discovering artists, when it comes to being a very accessible interface, being a very accessible way to discover new artists that you would never, ever have discovered, even on YouTube, because of their own algorithm. I have a very kind of weird take on this coming from a creative. I've created my own music. It's not phenomenal, but I've created my own stuff. But I have this weird theory that eventually we're going to boil down to when it comes to live shows is whose algorithm is dictating the fans of this live performance.
Well, that's the thing that I'm like, it doesn't compute with me because, I mean, there are several different genres that I love, but just because I love, say, of Monsters and Men, just throw out an example, doesn't mean I'm not going to like the next artists they throw out there that sound like them. I'm all over the place when it comes to music, as anyone knows by looking at my iTunes. I mean, I go from rap to alternative to new metal to whatever. I mean, I'm not that kind of guy that always listens to the same kind of music, and I don't know if it necessarily it could be a good thing for finding new artists, I guess. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say that they all kind of blend together, but sometimes they do. And sometimes I listen to Spotify and I'm like, I don't even know who the hell this is. I don't care. And maybe that's just me being narrow-minded. I really don't know. But I've gone from playing a band that no one's ever heard of to Nirvana to whatever, and I don't know. The Spotify algorithm to me sucks. You like it? That's cool. I mean, that's cool. And you're the one that always knows all the new artists.
Let's back up here. I'm actually the one that uses Spotify.
You do.
You don't use Spotify, so you really can't comment.
I've used
on the algorithm.
No, I've used it.
You've subscribed. You've actually paid the $10 a month.
Well, I used to until I started using Apple Music, and now I get all the downloads I want for free for $10 a month. So, I mean, I don't have to listen to some bullshit that I don't want to hear. I can listen to the songs I actually wanted to hear. But again, to your point, that turns a blind eye to any kind of music that you may not even know about, that you may enjoy and you don't even know about it. So I totally understand that. I get what you're saying.
Let's back up here. So, algorithm or no algorithm, turning a blind eye, you're more apt to not turn a blind eye by actually relying on an algorithm than not.
Let's
think about this. Let's think about this for a minute. The algorithm exists for a reason. It's to see what you intuitively put into the program and choose to listen to, and then it responds with what the algorithm thinks or doesn't think you may enjoy. So what's the opposite of that? Nothing.
No, I understand.
I mean, you have
that.
to understand. There's the opposite of that is nothing.
Right.
Is not listening to stuff that's doesn't relate to anything that you're keying in. So there's a reason. What my argument is that I think there's going to be a time where these algorithms slap hands, just like
they will.
an MMA fight, and we're looking at live shows and live ticket sales, and we're looking at going to a show mostly based on this fan base that is derived from the Spotify algorithm that maybe that record label, let me finish, the record label actually paid for, versus the Apple Music, who's maybe their sponsored playlist, baby of the month that they recommend. Right. So it's kind of a weird game. It is definitely a weird game. And relying on an algorithm or not, we need gatekeepers to tell us, like, let's check this band out. It doesn't matter.
You need
whether you like it or not.
You need gatekeepers to tell you what music you need to listen to, is what you're saying.
Dude, whether or not you need to try this band.
Well,
because how else are you going to listen to it? What else are we going to dictate? Just random
I
journalists, you know?
I mean, who the hell
music journalists?
Who the hell even reads music journalists anymore? Do you? Do you read music journalists?
I go on Pitchfork all the time.
You still do?
I love it.
Nice.
Yeah, I love reading Point.
What was the
Anthony Fantano? He's great.
What was that?
I don't always agree with him, but these are journalists. These are the gatekeepers. These are their opinions. Take it or leave it. Like, these aren't, whether they're not sponsored by a record label or not. At least there's an opinion out there that you can read.
Yeah, but
you don't have to hold it against somebody.
Are you always going to go off some fucking? Because
no.
Do you know how many?
No, I'm not going to go off somebody's opinion.
Well, because
I'm going to read their opinion and make my own opinion.
Do you know?
How do we hear about it? What do we rely on?
Do you know how many music critics have trashed some of the best all-time albums?
Maybe millions, thousands,
yeah, exactly,
hundreds.
Yeah, I mean it's
tens of thousands.
Like it's been ever since this. I want to say 60s, early 70s. A lot of those music critics have just trashed great albums by Cream, by the Beatles, by Hendrix, by the Doors, by the Who. I mean, whoever. I don't put a lot of stock into whatever a music journalist says, because they're trying to get views. They're trying to get whatever. Even back in the day. Even back in the day, before views were a thing. Okay,
let's back this up.
Go ahead.
Any review, any publicity is publicity for an artist.
I mean, any publicity is good publicity. I get it, because
to be provocative, to be shocking, that gives you more publicity. That brings more people to your art.
That brings more people to the journalist.
Why do you think Nirvana was such a big force? Because they were such a polarizing force.
They
were such the opposite of what was already going on during that time frame.
And I get that, but they were also. I feel like the country at the time needed something new. I mean, they weren't the '80s hair bands. They weren't. They were the total opposite of that. But I feel like at that time, they brought in this new vibe that everyone. Like it was
not everybody.
Well, not everybody, but I mean, it was that perfect storm of, teenage angst mixed with everyone. Not everyone, but a good majority of the people, rebelling against whatever it was, society, whoever. And I think it just came at a great time. I mean, nowadays, Nirvana would just be another band. They would be another band that you hear on the radio occasionally.
No,
I don't think.
Disagree.
No, I don't. I don't think that.
I disagree.
And believe me,
I totally disagree 100%.
Seriously,
because songwriting stands up on its own merits.
It does.
Whether it came out this year, whether it's Jimi Hendrix, whether it's Chopin, Sure, good songs are good songs. Good melodies are good melodies.
That's true. But say, okay, I'm not going to go deep into Nirvana because I totally can. Say Teen Spirit came out now. Would that actually be a number one song, or would it be some mumble rapper?
Well, to be honest, if we're playing mind games, then we have to back up and say Teen Spirit never came out in the first place. Like, we have to back up and say Nirvana was never a thing in the first place.
Okay.
And I honestly think if they never were a thing in the first place, they would be just as big, if not bigger, if they came out now.
They would not be. Absolutely not.
Why would they not be?
Because there are a few reasons why. Now, so in the year 2021, the main genre that any 18 or I'll go younger than that, anyone from 13 to early 20s, mumble rappers are what they listen to. They're not listening to any kind of back then it was grunge music, if you want to call it that, whatever. They would not be even a blip on the radar at this point. And it's not that I mean, obviously I love Nirvana. I've got them tattooed all up and down me. I'm not dissing them by any means, but I don't think today they would have the kind of clout they had back in the day, because this was, people seeing them at shows in Seattle, and it just traveled throughout the country, and all of a sudden they end up on MTV. MTV doesn't even. That's how they got big. Was from.
I disagree.
They got big from the Teen Spirit video on MTV. MTV doesn't.
I disagree.
And obviously,
if Nirvana never existed in '91, if they've never broke in '91, then we would have an entirely different landscape for music.
We would.
And if they were to break now, and even if they were to play the exact same songs, I think they would be even bigger now than they were back then.
I would think they would not.
Do you know why?
Tell me.
Back me up here. Because they influence so many people, so many generations, even beyond that then popular music can even fathom.
They influenced so many artists. They influenced so many people, but you have to understand, MTV was the only outlet back then. You didn't have Facebook Live. You didn't have Spotify. You didn't have all this shit that everyone listens to music on now. You didn't have any of this. This was the one medium. If you got on MTV back in the day, you were a god, and everyone was going to hear you. Whether your preference was rap, country, whatever, you were going to hear that. Now there's so many outlets. I don't even know half the artists that are out there now, because they're all coming from different directions. They're all coming from different, angles. They're all coming from these different sources. I mean, back then there were not many avenues to go through to get to the mainstream. I mean, do you agree with that?
I agree with that to a point.
Okay.
I think it's very hard to exchange the present with a past, with a huge influence from the past.
Well, that was your question, was would Nirvana still be as prevalent today?
As relevant. I think they would be. See, I think if they hadn't broke through, then there would be a huge gap. I'm sure some other shit would have broke through, Sonic Youth.
Well, I mean, Green Day came along in '94.
That's a little bit different.
It is.
I think Nirvana really changed the dynamic for major labels for what we heard on MTV and these outlets that exposed us, that were much more bigger voices than what we hear today, because this is a totally different time. You can't compare.
That's what I'm saying.
And I agree with you. I agree with you on the point that, it definitely would be different on the point of them breaking this year versus 25 years ago.
There's so many outlets for musicians to go through these days. Back then it was, you either get on a label or you're on MTV or both. Nowadays, you don't even need to be on a label to make a few $1 million. I mean, it's the landscape has totally changed in the past few years.
It definitely helps. It even helps today.
And I mean, a lot of it was record sales. People don't buy albums anymore. the funny thing is, people buy albums from 20, 30 years ago now. It's not, people aren't buying CDs or whatever the hell, vinyl or whatever, from the newest artists today. They're buying albums from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s,
let's back
whatever.
up, though, Deuce.
Go ahead.
For you saying that you don't think that they would, then you're kind of detrimenting their actual songwriting abilities.
I'm not saying...
a good song is universal, whether it was written 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Like, we have to put this in perspective and say, like, Nirvana wrote some pretty fucking good songs.
No, they did. They totally did.
And they hold up to this day. There's a reason they've been held in regard. There's a ton of bands that broke in 91, 92.
I mean, there was Soundgarden, there's Pearl Jam.
I mean, there's not the same regard that we hold those bands because they're different songs. Like, there's a merit to the songs that Kurt wrote, that he put on paper, that he recorded, especially with Steve Albini.
Oh, yeah.
Heart-Shaped Box.
Right.
With In Utero. I mean, that's kind of a more raw, stripped down version of those really good songs. And it's really good. Really good song.
I just feel like the thing is most I'm going to say younger people today would not have been interested in Nirvana. If say it was 2021 and Nirvana just came on the scene, I don't think they'd be interested in it.
Why?
Because I told you why. Because
so you don't think they have good songs. You don't think they're
don't say that. Don't say that.
Because what's your argument?
My argument is I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about most of the younger generation.
So you're speaking for this younger generation with no argument that holds true to your own beliefs.
It's not.
What are we talking about?
It's not true to my own beliefs. I will grant you that. I don't believe.
That they would reach the same.
I don't believe they would. I don't believe they would. No, because what band? I'm not talking about. Plenty of rappers these days have that clout. What actual band that's come out in the past 2 years has actually made a decent living? I mean, because I want to know. I mean, don't tell me about bands that have been around for 5-10 years. I want to know about a band that's broken the scene in the past 2 years that has actually just blown up. I mean, has there been any?
I don't know, but I don't know what that holds to your argument.
My argument
that holds water.
Okay, my argument is that kids these days don't give a shit. Some of them, they'll wear the Nirvana shirts because they're cool now, but they don't know a goddamn song by them.
Why are they cool now?
Because it's the whole retro thing. Kids wear Led Zeppelin Tour 73 shirts nowadays.
No. Let's back this up.
You go to Urban Outfitters, you get a fucking shirt from. I mean, that's what
They're
is.
Cool now because they wrote fucking good songs.
But they don't
broke through.
Ask them.
In the time that stuff was not breaking.
Ask a fucking 19-year-old that's wearing a Led Zeppelin shirt, one of Led Zeppelin's fucking songs, and I guarantee they cannot name one. Maybe, obviously, the one that everyone knows. Name one more song besides that. Can they? I mean, am I wrong?
I don't know. I have a 20-year-old son.
I was gonna say you've got 20.
He's not into Led Zeppelin.
Okay, but is he Nirvana?
He likes Nirvana. Yeah.
My son likes Nirvana, but because I won't say groomed, but he was listening to that since he was a baby, so he likes it. That's why we like music from the 80s. Because we were listening to that when we were fucking 4 years old.
Yeah, but there's no weight to your argument. Like, that doesn't...
Oh my God.
What the weight to the argument is because we like the 80s music because there were good songs. And what Nirvana brought us was good songs. Kurt was literally into pop music.
You don't have to argue with me about Kurt. I mean, Kurt was...
Well, you're telling me you're questioning the merit of Nirvana's music.
Kurt Cobain is my favorite artist of all time.
And I'm defending it by saying it's good, solid songwriting. It's solid.
It is.
Whether it's grunge, whether it's pop, whether it's punk, whether it's EDM, regardless when it comes out, the chord structure, the songs, the lyrics,
I just can't
It's
see.
good songs, and I will stand by my argument. If Nirvana came out today and never came out in 91 or 92, they would be just as big, if not bigger, than they were in 91.
Bigger than 92. They were 91 or 92?
92.
That's
when they broke.
If In Utero came out today, it would literally be on the number one.
I think so. Dude, I think so.
And trust me, look,
I think so.
Look, hey, I am the biggest Nirvana fan
If In Utero never came out, then we would not have the shit that sounds like In Utero.
I get that, but I feel like if it came out today, no one would pay attention to it.
This is what we call a thought experiment.
And this is not me. Trust me, this is not me bashing. This is my favorite.
I understand.
This is my favorite. This is my favorite band of all time.
I get you, bro.
This is my favorite band of all time.
I respect that, and that's why I'm coming at you with this passionate.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the argument because it creates it makes it does.
I think their songs hold up on their own.
They do, and I think they do. But I also think that kids nowadays, if they heard it for the first time,
dude, because there would be no trajectory, there would be no new metal. New metal would have sounded different.
See, that was
Nickelback would have sounded different without Nirvana.
Oh God, you're bringing
all
Nickelback.
Of these other shitty bands.
Don't say Nickelback in the same sentence as Nirvana.
We have to.
Oh my God. Okay.
My argument is when you bring up Nirvana and there's no Nirvana, then there's no Bush, then there's no.
That is true.
There's no other copycat bands. Like, we're gonna take an intermission.
Go ahead and say the copycat bands. I mean, I would say that. Sorry, we had to take a brief intermission, but I would say, I mean, what are the copycat bands to you? Because I'm thinking after Nirvana, I don't feel like there were many.
You gotta understand the copycat bands from Nirvana, with the whole grunge, the whole constipated singing. I mean, we're looking at a whole new subgenre of music.
Okay.
But honestly, we don't need to talk about that.
Well,
I think people understand Nirvana's influence. I don't think there's much more to say, to be honest. I don't
there's
think
really
there's
not
much more to say to be honest. Like, Nirvana affected so many people that when Kurt killed himself, people were contemplating suicide. When I was a 14-year-old, I literally grew up in an era where people were depressed. This was the big icon that the true artist in our generation being I'm 40 years old, so we're looking at when did Kurt kill himself?
94. Yeah.
94. I mean, there was nothing that came after that wasn't copycat after Nirvana.
Yeah,
I'm not saying Nirvana didn't copycat their own people. I mean, he was a huge REM fan. He was a huge
he was a huge Michael Stipe fan.
Johnston fan. I mean, these guys, his influence influenced a lot of other people.
I mean, he was influenced by the Pixies, Mudhoney. I mean, I'm trying to think of a few other bands that I can think off the top of my head. Who else was a big influence for?
He was influenced a lot of pop, and I honestly think.
Well, he was a big Beatles fan, which a lot of people don't know about. But he loved the Beatles, and he never really talked about it because they were a big pop band. But they influenced him tremendously.
True, that's very true. I think had they fulfilled their record contract with whoever they were signed to,
Geffen.
I don't know, Geffen. I think Kurt would have went solo. I think there would have been. This is my prediction, and I think some people agree with me. I think he would have went solo, and I think he would have released some very weird experimental stuff that people weren't expecting. I don't think it would have necessarily sold like Nirvana. I think it would have been amazing. I think it would have been on par with, in a totally different vein, granted, what with John Lennon kind of did after the Beatles. What do you think, dude?
Yeah, I mean,
where are we coming from?
I totally understand. I think he would have gone solo for a while. But then you think about him going solo, or if Nirvana even would have stayed together. What about Foo Fighters? What happens with Foo Fighters? We never see them. Is that a fair statement? Because I've been a huge fan of them ever since '95 when they first came out with, they had Big Me They had a bunch of songs on that first album that really, I mean, as soon as I heard Dave Grohl's voice, I was like, why the fuck was he playing drums for so long? Because the way he conveys the lyrics in basically any, I'm not going to say any Foo Fighters song because I'm not the biggest Foo Fighters fan, but that first album was killer. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. The self-titled Foo Fighters is a phenomenal album. There's really good songwriting on there. But to my argument earlier, I don't think that album would exist without Nirvana. I don't think the self-titled Foo Fighters would have existed without Nirvana.
It wouldn't have.
Maybe it did in a different feel, in a different sound.
Well, I think the main reason they became big in the first place was because Dave Grohl was with Nirvana. I think we can all agree with that. Everyone just wanted to hear something with, everyone was still reeling from Kurt's death at that point. I mean, this came out in, 95, I believe?
94.
No,
actually, it might have been.
It came out in 95.
No, I think he.
No, because he took a little. It
didn't come out in 95.
It did.
I think Foo Fighters came out.
It did.
All right, we're gonna have to Google.
I'm googling this, but go ahead and talk for a second so I can.
I was a big fan. They had Pat Smear. I mean, we're looking at essentially like Nirvana Part 2, like Nirvana 2.0 minus Kurt. Like this is maybe the trajectory of what they would have went in without Kurt, with the exception of maybe Chris Novoselic.
Which he's actually become, in his own right, he's become a great politician. I mean, every member, Pat Smear, obviously, with Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl, Foo Fighters, and then Chris has become
So when did that first Foo Fighters come out?
Let me see. Hold on.
I think it came out in like 92.
Okay, the back. It says background of.
This was during Nirvana. Dave Grohl was writing these songs during Nirvana.
He was
without any exception.
Yeah,
this wasn't a post-Nirvana.
They came out
afterthought. These are songs that were written while he was playing drums for Nirvana.
So actually, okay,
all right, we're gonna pull up the wiki.
Foo Fighters made their first live public debut on February 23rd in 95.
95?
Yup. So
I'm totally wrong.
I was right. So, and I remember when Foo Fighters came out, it was one of those things that, I mean, I was only 12 at the time, but it was also a thing where it made me feel like, okay, I've got part of Nirvana back. Even though Kurt's not there, Chris isn't there, but it still made me kind of feel like, that I've got part of them with me. So the original,
we're writing on the strength of the actual songwriting.
Yeah, and the original. So the original Foo Fighters album, the self-titled album, came out on July 4th, 95. So I'm totally right. Thank you very much.
Totally right. 95.
Yeah, because I knew he took a little time off because he did. I've seen plenty of interviews with him where he said I didn't want to do music anymore, and then obviously that the itch gets to you, and you can't. Once you're a musician, I mean, you don't. No matter what traumatizing thing happens in your life, you want to. I
love that first Foo Fighters.
Yeah, that first Foo Fighters album. I mean,
it holds up a lot to me.
Has All Stick Around, Big Me. Yeah. I mean, it had some great songs on it.
But I'll be totally honest. After that, when the second wave of punk really, really hit with like NoFX, Fat Records, Epitaph, Bad Religion, all of those slow Foo Fighters songs and
you weren't into it
the
anymore,
lyrics
were you?
And everything. Yeah. I fell on the wayside for me.
You look back.
This is a new genre for me when it came to completely redefining music to me.
Do you look
because I had a new energy. I had when I was coming of age, I had testosterone building in me. I didn't want to hear this slow.
Okay, so we're only 2 or 3 years.
Whatever.
Almost
doesn't matter.
Between 2 and 3 years apart. So when I was coming of age, this was when Limp Bizkit was coming around. This was when all these, full of tests. I mean,
94 is a huge difference than 99.
Obviously,
when did Limp Bizkit come around?
98.
We're talking 5 years.
This is coming
4 or 5 years
but this
later.
this is I'm speaking about the testosterone fueled boy that I was at the time. At the time, I mean, I wouldn't give Limp Bizkit the time of day now, but when I was 15, my God, that shit spoke to me. I mean, it was like, fuck everybody, fuck that, it was such, there was such some rawness to it that I felt at the time.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I look at it, I'm like, this is fucking,
Dude,
this is
Limp Bizkit is if you've never discovered actual hardcore
Right,
music.
right.
If you had never heard Fugazi or
Right.
even,
Yeah.
even
I mean, hell, even the Ramones. I mean, shit. You can talk about any kind of punk band you can think of, but at the time when I was 15, I mean, that was the shit that I'm like, they came out with the song "Break Stuff," they came out with Nookie, they came out with all this stuff.
You never heard Black Flag,
and it was exactly, and it was like you think, oh my God, this is me, this is what I'm about, and then you realize it's all horse shit.
because you had never heard anything before that.
Exactly.
You had never heard good music before.
Right, exactly. You get older and you realize you find all this old music.
You've never been exposed to a Minor Threat,
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're totally on point with that.
or even the Fat Record stuff, or the Epitaph stuff that was coming out.
Yeah. I mean that was my coming of age. And
because we weren't. This ties back to our Spotify algorithm playlist.
You're right.
We didn't have algorithms to follow to explain why we were into certain bands. All we had was popular culture.
All we had was
maybe magazines, maybe 120 minutes on MTV.
All we had was the radio and MTV, which
pretty much.
By the way, kids, MTV used to play music videos
A lot.
almost all day long, with the exception of Beavis and Butthead and Daria and a few other little shows.
Public Access used
they
to play
basically
music
played music videos all day long. I know it's hard to believe now, but that's how we got most of our music back in the day. That's how we learned about new bands.
That was the only way.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you had like what was like there are a few publications. There was Billboard magazine. There was Rolling Stone. But I mean,
alternative press.
There you go. He's going deep.
Maximum Rock and Roll.
But for
physical magazines. You guys know what's up. You old heads know what's
for
up.
most of us that were like the mainstream kids, how we learned about new music was always through always through MTV, which I can't knock Blink 182.
It's our band.
Well, you know what? I mean, I love them, and I was so fortunate. I didn't get to see them with Tom.
Seen him with Tom.
Which he's kind of.
Riot Fest 2013. They got back together.
Everyone thought he was out there, but he might be right. But I saw them with the new lead singer. Not as great, but I mean, I've gotten to see them, so I'm.
Alkaline Trio, bro.
Alkaline Trio.
He's good.
He was great in what was that? Boxcar Racer. And Aliens and
no, that's Tom.
Sorry, that's
Tom.
Airwaves, and what was the other band they had? I'm trying to think of it right now. What the hell was that?
That's Tom DeLonge.
That's what I'm talking about, because Tom left. But it was Angels and Airwaves.
Yeah,
Angels and Airwaves was a great band too.
Yeah, I didn't get into that. I actually am not that big of a Blink fan, other than now. I like to go back and listen to them, and I respect them.
A little
when they were a band. Yeah, fuck them. I wasn't that dude. I was in a.
There's still a band.
Better shit. Dude.
Just Tom's not in.
Bad Religion.
Tom's
no
not
effects. Like
I know.
Rancid.
I'm not.
Good Riddance.
I love Rancid.
I mean, that's just me. That's a matter of perspective.
No, totally.
If you were into Blink 182 when I was into that shit, I don't care.
Well,
I don't hold you lower than me.
And that's how
I was into.
That's how our age difference. Nowadays, it's not. I'm 38. You're 40. But back then, that 2-year span, that could change the whole dynamic of who you listen to.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you know, I'm 15. I'm thinking Blink-182. I'm thinking Limp Bizkit. All these.
I'm thinking Blink sucks.
Right,
Limp
exactly.
Bizkit sucks.
Right.
I want to listen to hardcore, Refused, Snapcase.
Yeah, but I mean, at the time, all these bands were speaking to me, but you were a couple years older than me. You're like, fuck them.
Because I was a douche, and you were a douche, and we're still douches.
we're all
it douches. It doesn't
douches.
matter. And some of the music holds up, and it's a matter of opinion.
Right.
And we just hit the hour point, so we got to wrap it up. Deuce,
Do you wanna
what's your last comment on the state of popular music?
Well,
are you gonna twirl your eyelashes for Billie Eilish?
Oh my God,
Are you gonna...
Billie Eilish.
Look, I like Frank Ocean.
William Eyelash as
William Eyelash.
You know what?
What do we got?
I will say that I don't listen to any pop music anymore.
I think she's great, by the way. She's amazing.
Fuck you. There's a few songs on the radio right now that I'll listen to as far as
the Old Town Road.
No, fuck you, guys.
2017.
Stop it.
Stop.
I think it was 20. I know it was 19. I think it was 19, actually.
We're Weezer. We like Weezer.
Anyways, we
like Devo.
I mean, I'm still back and I'm still
like the Cars.
listening to my early 90s.
We like 90s. We like Counting Crows. Where are we at, Deuce?
Laura Duritz.
We're going to end this.
Actually, hold on. Have we talked... We
talked about Duritz.
Duritz, I mean, I love him, but the new album, whatever.
Crows.
Anyways, so
if you guys want to hear more of the Deuce and Catfish debate,
it's not.
Then you got to listen to episode.
It's not the Mikey and D anymore. It's the Deuce and Catfish show.
Dude, fuck Mikey, fuck D.
I'm Mikey. I'm Mikey. What are you talking about?
Yeah, fuck Mikey. This is Deuce.
All right,
and Catfish.
That's my other alter ego.
After over an hour, we got to cut it off. We're gonna talk music.
We're gonna cut it out.
If you guys want to hear 90s music,
dude, hey,
Counting Crows.
If you guys want to hear more, please
rip on Dave Matthews.
Please, well, we can do that all day long. If you guys want to like and subscribe, we will be on here. I want to have Barn on here more often because we have a lively debate and we argue a hell of a lot. So anyway, we're gonna sign off right now. Hope you guys have a great night, and we'll talk to you later.
We love you. Bye bye.